As I said at the beginning of the day, or actually a couple times, I really enjoy this lineup because a lot of the people I get to introduce are friends of mine, but also sometimes people I've mentored over the years, and in each case, they are really unique individuals. So this next panel is a really good one, and the moderator is a good friend of mine and somebody I used to work with, and he is he's the development coordinator at IFC. And at IFC, he has worked on things like Portlandia and most recently the Birthday Boys, which launched this summer. He's a really unique individual. He started out at IFC as the assistant to the general manager, and that's another thing that I think you've heard me say over and over again is one of those entry-level jobs where you're sitting on someone's desk and getting to meet a whole bunch of different people. It's a great way to crack open a career. And Dan also is one of the most unique and original people in our business. I mean, he just has a different worldview, and he's also a terrific kickball player. So that is true, and is a snazzy dresser. Without further ado, I'm gonna introduce you to our next panel and our moderator, Dan Kerstetter.
Hi guys, how are you doing? Great. All right, so right off the bat, I would like to introduce Robert Greene. Embracing the ever-increasing complexity and scope that has become the new reality of production, Robert Greene has cultivated a sweet spot in the unusual confluences, the intricacies, the odd eddies in the swirl, to solve seemingly intractable problems and to perceive and actualize the unique opportunities hidden within them for brands, big media companies, news organizations, politicians, and cause groups, and his wife. Mostly his wife. I would also like to introduce Charles Gabriel. Charles is the VP of US Sales for AOL Video, a newly formed global business unit. Charles manages media sales strategy and packaging of the AOL ON network, AOL Originals, Beyond, and Adapt TV. And thank you for joining us last minute. Ben
You're welcome.
Dietz. He is the VP of Sales and Business Development for Vice Media. Ben began his career in the music business at Sony, marketing, developing artists from around the world in the US, and later taking US artists abroad for Sony in Sydney, Australia. He joined Vice in 2004 after a stint as an executive producer for Heavy.com, and has spent the last 9 years working with brands to utilize Vice's unique point of view to reach 18 to 34-year-olds around the world directly and authentically. Gentlemen, thank you for being here today. So we're going to start with some video from the panelists here. Is there anything in particular you would like to tell us about the video we're about to show?
Sure, because I am a congenital enemy of sizzle reels. Rather than show you one, I'm going to show you an episode. No offense to you guys, sizzle reels are awesome for some people. I'm going to show you an episode of a show I did while I was running Condé Nast Entertainment's creative division. This is something that I came up with as a concept about the NSA and about a hacker and a coder and a older spy and how they sort of have to deal with the changing realities of their jobs. This was just before the Snowden thing broke. We got David Rees from Get Your War On to write it, who's one of the most brilliant writers around. And we got John Hodgman to do the voice. Richard Linklater's company, Flat Black, did the animation, which also did Waking Life and Scanner Darkly, and it's a very fun and silly piece.
All right. Very nice. There's nothing not to love about John Hodgman, seriously.
John Hodgman is magical.
Yeah. Charles?
Yes.
From content creation to programming platforms, AOL has it all. Can you give us a quick overview from AOL's original to Adapt TV?
Yes, I can. Let's actually take a quick look at the video. By looking at this crowd, I bet you there's quite a few people that don't even know what AOL does today. Of course, we don't deliver CDs anymore. Let's take a quick peek at this video to check out some of our programming.
Our company has had a choice multiple times over the last 3 years to fight or flight. We always choose fight because I think video is going to change the world.
This is the Church of Mars.
It's chaos in here!
You're massaging those oats.
Well, now it's weird. Thank you for that.
We beat our goal. We raised $1 million, and there was no sign of stopping.
I'm thinking smart.
You're thinking like a teenager.
Because I'm a teenager.
I try not to learn too much about them because I want to shoot them the way I imagine them to be.
Who's the best female rapper in the game?
Mickey Ridge.
It's my life, it's my skin, it's my ink.
Eyes are often referred to as the windows to the soul, and I'm here with Peter Hartsbeck, founder of iMotions, to put that phrase to the test.
We're finding market-based solutions to the environment.
You know what? Get out.
I can't wait to see what happens.
So what I've learned is, as a 50-year-old, if I talk to a girl, I'm creepy.
Usually they'll catch you before your head hits the ground. I got dropped on my head once.
Creativity is what you want it to be. Hello, hello, boom.
What did you do? What did you change?
I decided I needed to get myself healthy.
I feel like I'm influenced by so many different things. I feel like I'm in an emotional pool.
I see why it's called Sunday Fun Day.
Wow, a lot of people love this.
Thank you. AOL's made a very large bet in video, not just in programming, but also in technology and advertising. And, what you saw there was a collection of an original programming slate that we released this year, earlier in April. And we actually just launched our 13th original this past week. Debuted at the Tribeca Film Center, which was City Ballet, which was the first time that cameras had ever been behind the New York City Ballet. Sarah Jessica Parker, who's on the board, came to us, and the City Ballet has a very specific problem, which is their audience is aging out, and they want to be able to reach a younger demographic and make the ballet cool, and their stories and the kids that are professional athletes at 8 years old and have a career at a very young age and peak at 25 years old, nobody's ever told their story. So please go online and check it out at on.aol.com. But not only did we make a bet in original programming, we also made a bet in aggregation of partner content. So we really feel that what we're doing is building a digital cable network. And if you think about the transition or the convergence, I should say, of television and digital, a CBS and NBC and ABC, the brands that we all know, they're not necessarily big players when it comes to digital. So the pipes are changing, and the brands are changing, and we really feel that we're going to emerge as one of the big programmers in the space. And then just to add in on the technology side, part of our strategy as a company is we're developing very specific brands. Some of you may know the properties we own, some of you don't, but we own Huffington Post and TechCrunch and Engadget and MoviePhone, MapQuest, and 40 other properties. And from a video perspective, we program content like this across the properties, as well as partner content from anywhere from Condé Nast to ESPN, which is a new content provider that signed on with us, to Martha Stewart and Oprah. And then on the technology side, we just made a recent acquisition in a company called IFCtv, which is an automated platform for delivering advertising and an exchange where buyers can connect to advertising more seamlessly with less cost. So we kind of do a lot.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And Ben, we have a little reel to show for
talk about reaching the apex of your career at 25. Sad example of that, I'm afraid. Been just suffering through the last 13 years. So the reel that you're going to see is the first 60 seconds of our brand reel. It's pretty sizzly. Insert sizzle noises. And it just takes you through a little bit of our universe. So please.
Vice magazine, which started in Montreal in 1994. It's become a global empire. You got Vice.com, international network of digital channels, a TV production studio, a record label, an in-house creative services agency. You describe the Vice brand. What is it?
Vice is the voice of a generation. The world's first truly global, all-digital youth media company. Every day, Vice delivers hours of online original video covering the news, culture, and entertainment that defines the world we live in.
Everyone was investing platform, money into platform, but no one was saying, well, what are we going to fill that pipe with?
So that's what we fill the pipe with.
It was very sizzly. There's a lot of people in the audience who are very interested in getting into content creation, working on acquisitions, and working really a lot on, I guess, the TV next, if you will, how the digital is producing just as much, if not more content than proper television nowadays. Would you each mind kind of telling us how you got to where you are and what exactly you wish you had known while you were making your way to your current positions?
I'll dive in. I did the traditional media route. I worked for film companies. I worked on big movies like Gladiator and Stuart Little and Minority Report and developed them. I produced movies independently. I launched a completely, utterly hopeless .com in 1999 for which I helped raise $35 million, money that no one will ever get back.
Nobody else did that, right?
No, I was the only one. Short form video that you could share. It was a terrible idea that was never going to work. And then
a little before your time.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I blame bandwidth, obviously. And then about 5 years ago, I had saved up, a decent amount of money from the other stuff I'd done, and I decided to create my own company with it to do sort of production services, creative services, whatever was needed for some of the big media companies with whom I'd worked, and where I developed sort of positive feedback from the people with whom I'd worked. And that resulted in my working with Fox, where I produced over $1 million worth of short-form content for them in 2008 at a time when they then, once they had the content, didn't know where to put it. They were like, Fox.com, but we don't put video on there, and we own MySpace, but is that a video brand? And so I went through this process with them where I explained to them we could put it on YouTube. They asked me how much that would cost. Would they have to buy time? How did it all work? I was like, no, you press the upload button, and then, yeah, it's pretty much, you're done. And since doing that for Fox, I have run companies for various different people. I helped launch HuffPost Live for AOL Huffington Post. I launched the West Coast side and built out the operations with a colleague of Charles's named Gabe Lewis and Roy Seekoff and Ariana Huffington. I produced a bunch of stuff for the administration around the election. I produced the shadow conventions for Huffington Post. I produced the launch of Jash.com for Sarah Silverman, Tim and Eric, Reggie Watts, genius, I should just say.
Jash is fantastic. Yeah. All of those people are just brilliant.
And then the most recent thing I did is I launched Condé Nast Entertainment. You saw that logo at the end, which meant I launched web channels for Wired, Vogue, Teen Vogue, Glamour, GQ, and Vanity Fair, Style.com, and Epicurious.com. And I just finished that out about a month ago, and now I'm producing stuff for some other people that I can't quite talk about yet.
Secret stuff.
Indeed. Secrets.
By the way, all of that means you're old.
Yes, I am old. My knee hurts.
So while you had a very traditional route in media, I had a very, very unconventional route. We'll see how deep I'll go here, but I actually put myself through school. I was a biochem student and came out and got into a career in semiconductors, which I don't even want to get into, but worked with NASA and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, companies that probably a lot of people despise. And then I actually got into a career in finance, and I worked for a company that was acquired by GE and worked for GE Consumer consumer finance for about 5 years, building a team in the Northeast, pretty much building a new sales model and compensation model for the company, where we actually drove business from about $100 million a month to over $1 billion a month, and then started to see the writing on the wall before a lot of folks, with the banks collapsing and things happening in the financial space, probably in 2005. Before anything major happened, and I got out, and I took about 7 months off, living here in New York City, and I did something very specific. I actually plotted out a few Starbucks where I knew different executives from various industries went, and I was looking for the next trend and what was really going to be hot and interesting. And I still have stacks of Wall Street journals with notes on them from sitting down at Starbucks at 7 a.m. every day, and getting into conversations with people and just tapping people on the shoulder and asking them what they're doing and figuring things out. And this is all pre-Hulu, and really identified the trend of television advertising dollars are going to start to shift and move online, and it really seemed to be a big growth sector in online video and online advertising. Picked up the phone and called a friend of mine who was selling digital advertising, who I didn't think was a very good sales guy anyways, but he was doing a really good job and making a lot of money, and I said, how do I get in? And I got connected to a startup, went in, had about 3 months of interviews because I was the only candidate that they had that had zero media experience, but my experience was in building sales and business development teams, coming from GE. And at the end of the day, their board came to me on the last day and said, you really have screwed up our plans and thrown a big wrinkle in our plans. And I said, I'll make it real simple for you. I said, pay me half of what you're going to pay the next guy. And we'll renegotiate in 6 months when I prove myself. And I think proving yourself is something that you're always going to have to do. And I don't know that people tell you that when you're in university, going to a good school and getting a good education. But you always have to prove yourself. And from there, I stayed at that startup for a year or so. It since then has sold to Specific Media, which is the company that owns MySpace. And I found my next move. And I met a group of Israelis who were starting a company in the video technology space, was working on aggregating content and distributing content. And I made my bet. And about 2.5 years later, AOL acquired us. And we became the underlying technology play for them in video. And 8 months later, I was the vice president of U.S. revenue for AOL. So again, not a very conventional route, but got to where I was going.
I had an epiphany. I was in a music venue in Philadelphia, and I had just started a job working for Sony Music, and I put some posters up on the wall, and a guy who worked for Sony, who was like a sales rep locally in the market, he turned to me and he said, "Hey Ben, you want a beer?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll have a beer." And he was going to get the beer, and I came back, and I was just like, "I'm getting paid to drink. This is good. I should figure this out. I should go into entertainment. I should go into a field where I can get paid to socialize and have fun and get free stuff, see bands, travel." So I got a job at Sony Music. I raised my hand as part of the college rep program, and I got an assistant job at Sony. And I would walk around the building looking for free stuff. And I found a CD once that was this band, it was a Scottish band that had just put this record out that I'd heard of. And I brought it back and I started playing it at my desk. And everybody started associating me with that band. And then that band blew up, had just hit.
Did you start wearing a kilt afterwards?
No, because I believe in underwear. So I started playing the band at my desk. Band blew up in England. Everybody said, who should work this band in the US? And everyone said, well, Dietz has been playing that record and he knows it. So they gave it to me. I became a marketing manager. Then they said, Dietz, you're working with international acts. Why don't you go overseas? So I went overseas. Worked in Australia for a while. And then Sony went through a bunch of layoffs driven by the downturn in music sales with Napster. They laid me off, but they forgot to tell me, literally. So when I found out, it sort of turned into this international incident, and so they gave me a nice package to leave, and I came back to New York and spent the summer essentially trying to do free stuff again to try to figure out what my next move like that would be. Over that summer, I heard that Vice was launching a record label, and I knew Vice as a magazine, and I really loved the brand and respected what they did. So I went to them and I said, I worked in the music business, I could run your record label. And we went down that road for a while, and they didn't hire me. I got down to the final 2, and then they hired somebody else, which was a good decision on their part, to be honest. But I kept in touch, and a couple of years later, they called and said, we know you know a lot of people from being out looking for free stuff all the time. Do you know anyone who'd be good for our business development position? And I said, well, I would be great, because I know everybody, you know, but I'm not a sales guy, right? This isn't a sales job. And they go, no, it's not a sales job. And then I got there, and then they said, okay, you have to sell stuff. So I've been learning over the past 9 years how to sell stuff. But that was it. It was literally like the desire to be connected to the newest and most interesting and coolest things, and most importantly, to be surrounded by people that you really like and respect. I always say that we should never hire anybody that we couldn't have a beer with. I like beer, as I'm getting across, but
you do work across the street from a brewery.
Well, yeah, I mean,
yes.
Well, believe me, we just bought a bar too, so we own a bar now too. So in any case, I would say the keys are, doing what you want, serendipity, beer.
Is there a connection to the fact that your commute's only 10 blocks and you like to drink beer?
I drive to work most days. It's wasteful.
Well, all right, so 3 very different paths. I think we're going to do some Q&A. Does anybody from the audience have any specific questions they would like to ask any of our panelists?
There's got to be one. Come on.
Tomorrow's too late.
Mr. Shapiro.
So there are a lot of people in here who are either looking for a job or will be looking for a job very soon. How do they get one with one of the 3 of you?
If they want to work for free, no, you can't. It's illegal. Don't do that anymore. People get in trouble. I've spent the past couple of years hiring a lot of people. I've probably hired around 200 people in aggregate, of whom maybe 60, 70, 80% have been in your age range, if you are somewhere between the ages of 20 and 30. The number one thing is that you come to the table with a lot of skills. The days of sort of siloing yourself into being good at one thing and sort of just bringing that in and being like, I'm applying for a sales job, I'm good at sales. Okay, that's great, but I'm applying for a sales job and I'm really great with PowerPoint. If you ever need me to do a presentation for you, I'm awesome at that. I know some graphic design. For me, in a lot of the places I hire, people will say, look, if you give me a 5D and a laptop and you need something made, I'll make it. I mean, it may not be the job, but if that's what you need, maybe on the weekend I can go shoot something for you, or I can be in support of this, I can help with that. I understand all these tools, because there are a million tools now, and I'm good at several of them, and if you need that, that's great. I know this is an administrative assistant job, but maybe you need help with your PowerPoint. I'm awesome at it. I understand it. That's super key. The other thing that we brought up earlier, and this has happened to me several times, I was talking to Robert Miner about this, but people got in touch with me, very similar to your story, Ben. You get in touch with somebody and you meet them and they don't hire you. That's either the beginning of a relationship or the end of a relationship, and that's as much up to you as anybody else. Because if you bug somebody like me who's busy and who's got a lot of things going on and still has headcount to fill, and then you bug me again 2 months later, and I'm like, God, this kid. And then you bug me again 3 months later, I'm like, enough already, I'll fucking hire you. Job is shit, but it's a job. I'm fun. So that's my sort of vision of how it works. I don't know.
I just want to add one note to that. The thing that I think we are hiring most rapidly for, and the thing that is in greatest demand in the marketplace generally, which is one of the reasons we have a little trouble hiring for it, is spreaditors, shooter, producer, editors. Right?
Yep, absolutely.
We're in a video world where things get turned around quickly. If you can shoot, produce, and edit, you've got a meal ticket for the foreseeable future. And if you're not a spreaditor, which is fine, I'm not. The thing that you have to be is current. You have to be improvisational, and you have to be egoless. Like, I sit around and interview people all day long, and I'm like, look, the first thing that you have to understand is I really don't care about anything that you say that you're going to do for me. What I care about is when I ask you to do the most dumb, menial thing of all time, you go do it without question. That's what I care about. Because I'm asking you to do it for a reason. I've been doing this for a long time. I know what I need. Go do it. Show me you can do it well. and you'll get more stuff to do, and you'll move up the ladder very quickly. But if you complain, or if you go to HR, or if you get me the wrong thing.
Is that go to HR ever?
No, they got to go to HR eventually. Like they got to work out some kind of thing. But
yeah, the hitting, because of the hitting.
Oh, no, it's sorry. What I mean by that is it's just like I really thought that I was coming here and I was going to be doing meaningful stuff and going to report from Afghanistan with Shane. Ben's asking me to get coffee. Yeah, it's your job. Get coffee. Go.
And by the way, if you're getting coffee for 4 people and there are 4 different coffees to get the right 4 coffees.
Yeah, sorry. I know this makes it sound terrible, like it's all about getting coffee. But honestly, like, be egoless. I got coffee for everybody for years because you're part of a team, not because it's a menial thing to do.
Well, and I think it goes back to what I said earlier. I mean, you got to prove yourself, and sometimes it's a matter of doing little things like that. And quite frankly, anything you do, you should do really, really good. I mean, you have to. You should always be doing your best. But for me personally, when I'm hiring people and interviewing, the one thing that I look for is I look for that human connection, and I'm looking for someone to tell their story. I actually don't really care what you've done. I don't even really look at a resume. I don't care where you went to school. It doesn't matter to me. I'm someone who put myself through school. I went to a small college, so none of those things matter. I think when you think about school, and I do check a resume, it's just to show that you can finish something. You started and finished something, and I think that's important. But at the end of the day, come in and tell your story. Don't be afraid to tell your story. And I think when people find something interesting in someone, they're willing to believe in them and back it up and teach them. And I always look for people that are malleable and people we can teach.
Right on. Yes.
What kind of influence does the undergraduate degree and the subject matter of that degree have on
None.
Zero.
Very
nil. Here's the thing. This is actually really important. Okay. Humanities majors. I was a philosophy major. Wherever it is I went to school, whenever it is I went. Humanities majors can learn to critically analyze data, whether that's reading or whatever else it is, visual data, and they can then say something intelligent about it and have an interesting thought. They can contextualize. They can do the only things that we need. Other than that, you learning how to do PowerPoint well, or you knowing how to make a good coffee, or you writing a good email, which, goddamn, is that important. Pithy, simple,
short,
clear. You asked me for this, I'm giving you that. Never write an email back saying okay or thank you to a boss who gets 500 emails a day. It is assumed, very important. But if you come out of a humanities program as opposed to film, and I know obviously a lot of you are in grad school for film, I get it. The thing that Charles said, which I completely agree with, is in that moment where I meet you, I just want to know who you are as a human being, not know that you watched all the Kubrick films. Because you can watch the Kubrick films on your own. You do not need to do that at school.
He's no longer alive. He's not making any more.
Yeah, he is no longer alive.
And then just to add to that, I mean, I think the one thing that it hit me when I was in college, in probably my second year of college, but university, college, you learn how to learn. Like, that's what you're doing. You're learning how to learn, and there are some fields that require a very, very specific path. Lawyer, teacher, doctor, things like that. But everything else is, as soon as you get out of schools, it's a clean slate, and you just need to prove that you can learn. And as long as you can learn and you're open to being taught something, you'll find yourself on a path, and you'll figure out how to be valuable, and then you'll figure out how to become a linchpin into the organization, and you'll be successful.
Yeah, I would simply say, before we throw education out the window, that I look at where people went to school to understand sort of the kind of stories that they would be able to tell about whatever that school was or whatever the place was. What you study is of absolutely no use to me. There are more traditional media companies that probably hire according to degrees. It doesn't make a difference to us.
Yes.
What are the biggest challenges that you guys see in the industry, but also specifically in your organizations right now?
HR. No, I'm just joking. Sorry. Couldn't resist. The biggest challenge for us is twofold. It is, on the one hand, finding people who are multifaceted to you know, Rob's point, and then also who can fit in culturally to our way of storytelling. Because our big pitch basically to brands is, look, if you want our audience, you have to come along with us, and you have to let us tell stories in our own voice. And getting people out there who actually really understand that fundamentally is difficult, because watching Vice from the outside, it's pretty easy to get it wrong. The second thing is that on a more business level, video is definitely the future of the advertising business and of the media business, but presently there's a lot of price pressure on it, and it's very difficult to actually make money selling video, partially because brands don't totally understand integration into it, partially because the pressure with programmatic buying is pushing costs down, and partially because the distribution model is still not as proven as TV, and so it's easier for buyers to put their dollars in a proven model. But that will change. We view that as a short-term hurdle, next 3 to 5 years, you know, kind of on the long end. And then after that, kings of the universe, we're going to own everything.
Well, can we dig into that a little deeper for people here to kind of understand, because it's where I live, and Charles.
If you become a media buyer, buy video.
Yeah. Because here's the problem that we all face in this industry. I am constantly hired to create what's called premium video, which is to say it's not a vlogger. It costs money to do that. Right. And I can tell you how much it costs per minute, depending on the kind of thing. And I know what Charles and AOL pay per minute. I've worked for all of these different companies, and I know what all of them pay. What I also know is that the amount of incremental revenue that they can create from the advertisers that advertise with them to support that video is not concomitant with the amount of money I have to spend to make that video for them. That is a cold, hard fact right now. What's also a cold, hard fact for all the media buyers out there and all these big brands and advertising agencies that they have to understand is that if they're trying to market to 12 to, let's say, 34, that market has moved on from television. Yeah, they watch cable on Netflix or whatever, but they don't give a shit anymore about the traditional way of accessing media. And if you don't reckon with that as an advertiser, if you do what they do right now, which is say, okay, here's $1 million for my traditional buy, and I got 100,000 for that digital thing you guys are doing, and it is, I think 10 to 1 is the ratio right now. I think that's fair. I mean, it shifts. It's starting to shift. That has to change.
All
so
right. We're getting the time is up sign over here. So,
well, gentlemen, thank you.
I won't say anything on this topic, but we'll cover it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.